Okay, well, we will go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for coming to this and for joining. And thank you for committing to yourself this evening. I know it's a really busy time of year, and I just think that's awesome that you're willing to spend time with me and commit to yourself and your future. So, today we're going to be talking about losing weight and feeling free. So, we're going to talk about boosting your metabolism. We're going to talk about avoiding that burnout when it comes to meal planning and healthy eating and all of those things that can throw us off of our goals, and doing all of this as part of a lifestyle so it's maintainable. I know your time is precious. You're busy people. So I really appreciate you spending this time with me and investing in yourself and in your future right now. I am really passionate about these things. I'm so excited. I'm pumped up to be here with you tonight. So this is going to be fun. So let's get going. So our goal today is to walk you through some of my fasting with freedom formula that helps with weight loss and food freedom. So by the end of today, you will be able to know how to discover your why behind your health goals and really dive into that, and why a healthy lifestyle is as important as the number on the scale, how to boost your metabolism to help you lose weight, and we'll discover 5+ ways to ease the mental load of healthy eating. Like I mentioned, that burnout. We don't want to get that decision fatigue when it comes to healthy eating. We have enough decisions in our life today. So I'd love this to be interactive. Be sure to put comments or questions in the chat. I have it open. There's going to be an open Q&A session at the end, so feel free to have questions. If you want these slides, I can send them to you at the end so you don't feel like you need to write everything down as we go. You're welcome to write things down, but you don't have to write everything down. I will be able to send you the slides afterwards. So I would love for you to start. What do you think of when you hear the phrase weight loss? If you want to put in the chat any things that come to mind when you think of weight loss, when you hear weight loss or think about weight loss. Overwhelm. That's a good one. So a few things I thought of were, I kicked off on my thing. Standing on a scale, looking at that number on the scale, that feeling of deciding whether to eat the food that we want versus the foods that we know we should have, along with that overwhelm, just all the feelings, right? We can feel depressed about how we look or feel. We can feel shame at how we look or feel. We can feel anxious around food. It can be very frustrating. All of those things, and it can be such a vicious cycle. I remember with one of my babies, I gained too much weight while I was pregnant with her, and I knew I was gaining too much weight, and it started because I really struggled with nausea at the beginning of my pregnancy, and the only way I could curb it was to just basically eat like every hour on the hour, and it's really hard to not overeat when you're just eating so regularly. And I remember I would go and, I was trying to keep it under control as the pregnancy went on, and I would go in and nope, I gained more weight than I meant to this time. I'm sad. I'm going to go home and eat a cookie, which is totally defeating the purpose of I'm gaining more weight, but it's this vicious cycle of those emotions can really get in our way. Can feel so bored. I feel like, that's how many diets work, right? Is because you get bored of eating, so you don't eat as much because they restrict what you can eat. It's how some diets work, is by creating boredom and so much salad, or feeling like you need to sneak food or cheat on your diet. None of that is what we want to do. We want to create a lifestyle. So I would love to know if you've ever felt any of these things. Have you ever felt like food is your vice? It doesn't matter what I do, my weight goes nowhere. I can only lose weight and maintain it if I never eat carbs again. I'm too busy or exhausted to plan and cook meals. It is twice as hard to maintain my weight once I lose it. So I have to work twice as hard once I lose it to keep it off. I just want to feel good in my skin. My sugar cravings control me. I can't maintain different meals for myself and my family. So feeling like if you're following this diet, that you're going to have to make something separate for yourself than your family, and that's even more work. And I am alone in my struggles. So if you have ever felt any of those things, put a 1 in the chat. Well, everybody who's here, put a 1 in the chat. So we all know at least that you are not alone, right? Because we all are feeling those things. I have felt so many of those things myself. So, but if you answered any yes to any of those questions, then you are in the right place. This is what we're here to talk about tonight, is trying to get past some of those things. Now, I really want to focus for a minute that it's not your fault. And just remember, say in your mind, it's not my fault. It is so important in starting on this health journey that you take the blame and the guilt and the shame and all of those feelings out of the equation, because we'll talk about why it isn't your fault. But even if it was, having those feelings isn't going to help you progress past it and make the changes that you want to make in your life. So we need to get rid of that baggage. It's something you need to get away from, of that baggage, of that feeling of shame and guilt and blaming yourself for whatever weight or diet struggles you have in life. So why is it not our fault besides that? Our diet culture around us just focuses on quick fixes. I mean, you can see people in social media talking about how, well, I lost 10 pounds or this or that. That's not what we're here to do. Yo-yo dieting has changed your body, making it harder to lose weight. So, sorry, there we go. I was chatting with someone online recently who was telling me how they follow some of the tenets of what I'm going to talk about tonight, but will intermittently kind of fall off track. Maybe they really like dessert, and so they'll need to like lose a little bit of weight. So for a month, they'll eat 1 meal a day of like a hard-boiled egg, some peanuts, and some broccoli or something, eat like less than 1,000 calories a day, and they'll lose 10 pounds in that month. And then they go back to what they were doing before. And I was trying to explain to them, like, losing those 10 pounds over and over again, people like to joke, well, I lost weight, but it found me again. Well, when that weight finds you again, you're changing the overall composition of your body because you lose muscle anytime you lose weight, and that's okay. But when we gain it back, we tend to gain fat, and that's changing our overall body composition and our metabolism as we do that. And so it's really difficult to break that cycle, but that's what is so common in our society, is people do that yo-yo dieting. They lose weight, they'll gain some back. They lose weight, they gain some back. The traditional calorie restriction diet that all of us have heard about, it's calories in, calories out, you can eat less, then that actually slows down your metabolism. And we talked about previously, people will say, and I hear this all the time, like, I have to work twice as hard. Often people do have to work extra hard. They've done studies with people and looked at people who are at the same weight. Well, for a round number, say 150 pounds. One of them has just naturally been at 150 pounds their whole adult life. Another person had gained weight and now has lost back down to that 150 pounds. That person will need less calories to maintain that weight. Why? Because your body over time has adapted. It's going to adapt. If you ate less calories to get down there, it's going to adapt to stay there, to only need that many calories that you ate. So restricting calories a ton can slow down your metabolism, making it even harder to lose weight. Why some people say, I feel like I'm doing all the right things and I'm not losing weight. Because all the right things that we think we're doing actually slow down our metabolism. The media makes it look super easy, and it's not. We see all of these celebrities that lose weight for a movie or whatever it is, and they make it sound, it looks like, oh, well, they just did it overnight. Well, it wasn't easy, and that's not real life. And So that's another reason. And our society focuses entirely on the number on the scale rather than the overall health of the person. So we do not have a great way of looking at someone's weight and knowing if it's a healthy weight for them. My husband and I were watching a video yesterday of something, and this guy was saying like that this thing said his BMI was overweight. Well, he's a man that's over 6 feet tall. I don't even want to hear what his BMI is, because for a man over 6 feet tall, BMI is not a very good indicator. There's been plenty of studies that show that people in the overweight BMI can often have as long of a life or longer than people in the regular weights, what we would call healthy weights BMI. We don't have a great system of knowing exactly what is a healthy weight for a person. So much more than the number on the scale is the overall health. Are you making healthy choices? And we'll talk about some of these things later. But no matter what your BMI, the healthier your choices are, the healthier you will be in the long run, even if the weight doesn't come off. You're bombarded with food decisions all day, every day. It's never going to go away. It's kind of like laundry. As soon as you wash the clothes, you wear clothes and more are dirty. Doesn't matter how many days you figure out meals to eat, there's going to be more days to figure out meals to eat. There's just food everywhere, anywhere we go. There's, and I'm guilty of this as well. Anytime there's a social gathering, there has to be food, right? And so it's just a lot of decisions all day, every day. So what if instead of all of those feelings that we talked about, you knew exactly to create a healthy eating pattern that you could adjust to help you lose weight or maintain weight? What if you could plan meals for the whole family in a simple way to avoid that mental burnout and eating based on your cravings instead of what you know you should be eating? You had the tools to help you control those cravings. You had the support you needed to maintain this lifestyle long term. And you had healthy goals that focus on your whole self. So put a 1 in the chat if you think that would be a good thing. I see that sounds magical. It does sound magical, doesn't it? Absolutely. It sounds great. And we can do that, right? We'd all feel like a new person. And so would it be okay? So today we're going to talk a little bit. This is my fasting with freedom method that I work with people in my program. And I'm going to walk you through a portion of that. So it has 3 steps, the log, learn, and live step. And we're going to walk through a portion of that learn step. So I need you to ask questions. I want to make this time as valuable for you as I possibly can. So please ask questions as we dive into some of this here. And I know you're going to have some great ideas as we go along and information. And at the end, if it's okay, I'll go ahead and take a couple minutes and show you what we're moving forward could look like if you feel like you would need some additional support or next steps from there. Oops. So I want you to imagine with me for a minute that life is a bike ride. Now, it's important to know 2 things about this life as a bike ride. Health is the journey. It's the road that you're on. It's not a destination. Health is not a place we are getting to. It is something we are constantly going to be moving towards and working on. Even there's not some magical, like I've reached health and now I'm done, because I'll constantly, even if I were to reach my health goal, I'm going to have to keep making those good decisions to keep it going, right? My husband's grandfather is over 90 years old. He still is making healthy choices, right? So, and the second thing that we need to know is that, like riding a bike, you could go forward or backward, but you're never really standing still, right? On a bike, you can't just hover and stand still. You're moving forwards or backwards on that health road the whole time. So, and also like a bike ride, you can gain momentum. Maybe there will be hill that maybe you'll be Sometimes I'm pulling kids in a bike trailer behind me when I'm on a bike, and it's like this baggage is pulling me backwards the whole way. Sometimes it's harder and we'll hit bumps in the road, but there are other times where maybe you'll gain momentum. So thinking of all of this as we're going on. So, but instead of healthy, like I said, being this destination we're getting to, healthy is the road. And we need to think about, what are the places being healthy can take you on this road? Why are we wanting to do that? Maybe it's a dream vacation you want to go on. Maybe you would love to go hiking in the Alps, or whatever this dream vacation is, but it's going to take some stamina to do all of this and see all of the things that you want to do. And you don't want to have to take a whole bottle of package of pills with you on this dream vacation. Maybe it's a big anniversary or a birthday or something like that that you want to get to. Maybe it's having the strength and stamina to play with your grandkids someday. Maybe you want to be able to ski when you're 90 years old. Whatever those destinations are for you, I want you to think about those. So we're going to think about, we need to be ready to commit to that journey. So backing up a little bit, who am I? So my name's Kim. You guys, usually most of you know me. I've been a registered dietitian for over 10 years. And I've worked in a variety of settings throughout that time. I have 4 kiddos, as you can see in that picture. They are 9, 7, 5, and 3 right now, so very busy. And I have my husband. I'm a thyroid cancer survivor, which is the lovely picture of me with tubes hanging out of myself. I am a wannabe foodie. I love to cook. I love making food. I love to eat food. I love to make and eat good food. This picture is from my husband and I like to host every year. We call it our winter formal, where we invite people over, couples over, and make fancy food and eat it on china and dress up and have fun. I love to hike and bike, and I pretend to ski. My kids can, well, the 9-year-old and 7-year-old can both ski better than me, but I try. They will all outstrip me someday, and I will become the lodge mom, and I am okay with that. But I do actually enjoy skiing most of the time. And I totally understand feeling confused, frustrated, and stuck. So as a thyroid cancer survivor for, oh goodness, I have to think, 12 years ago now, I had my thyroid removed. And since then, I have felt this anxiety underscoring everything that I do, because I feel like I'm not in control of my own metabolism. And I watched this play out for my mom as I was growing up. Her medication had been stable for most of her adult life. She also had her thyroid removed due to thyroid cancer pretty young. And then when I was in late elementary, early middle school, her doctor moved away and she had to switch to a new doctor, and he drastically cut her thyroid medication and said she shouldn't be on what she was on anymore, which she'd been on for more than a decade, close to 2 decades probably, and cut her thyroid medication. And it was horrible for her. She was cold, she was tired, she had no energy, she was grouchy, she gained weight. And no matter that she went to the doctor with these symptoms, he was just like, nope, your labs are right. And ever since I had my thyroid removed, I've had this like underscore of anxiety of, I'm not in control of my metabolism. And for a lot of the time since my thyroid was removed, I've actually, because I had thyroid cancer, had my thyroid medication quite high and to suppress any thyroid cancer. But in the last few years, because I'm not in that window anymore, they've started gradually, and they're going to continue gradually decreasing it. And I never struggled with losing weight or any hyper symptoms, even though I had a lot of thyroid hormone in me. And so it's always made me have this anxiety as they drop it. What's going to happen? Am I going to go through what my mom went through? And it is difficult. And it's this struggle, especially as women having kids and going through all of these different things. Our bodies become so different, and we have these hormones and different things going. It can be so tricky. And a couple years ago, I realized I decided my youngest would be my last baby. And I was like, I don't have pregnancy and breastfeeding to like mess with anymore. I'm in control and I have to be in control. And that was scary. And it was a similar time of when they started dropping my thyroid medication and COVID hit and all of these things hit. And I could feel myself gaining weight and knowing that I couldn't blame it on my thyroid hormone because it's entirely regulated. And what am I going to do? And so I totally understand that feeling of, I'm a dietitian. I felt like I was doing the right things. What was happening to me? Why am I gaining weight? I'm a pretty good eater. What is happening? So I totally understand those feelings of being confused, frustrated, and stuck. So enough about me. Let's get back to you. So why are you here? I want you to think about your main health goal and what is the reason behind that goal. And you may have to dig a little deep, but I also want you to be honest. So I posted something about this recently on Facebook and somebody said, I don't think I'm deep enough to have a why. And, we don't have to have our why. It doesn't have to be, we're going to solve have world peace or solve world hunger or these curing cancer. Our why just needs to be that reason that we don't quit. So thinking about what is your health goal? What really is that goal? And why do you want it? What is the reason behind it? Maybe your why is I don't want to get winded walking up the stairs, or I want to feel more confident in my skin. And so I just want you to think about how you can, and be real with yourself. You don't need to be noble with everyone. Like I said, it doesn't need to be curing cancer. Doesn't have to be some grandiose reason. But really understanding your why for your health goal. And two really important things as we're going on this journey is one, like I mentioned, health is a road. It's a journey. It's not a destination. We're always about progress, not perfection. As long as that bike is moving in the direction that we want it to go, then we're okay. We're never going to be perfect. That we're creating a lifestyle that we can live and enjoy our life, and life is about enjoying it. So it's all about progressing. And second, wrong arrow, sorry. Second is to make yourself proud, especially if your goal is to feel more confident. This is for you, but for everyone, you have nothing to prove to anyone but yourself. If you believe in yourself, and then you can be proud of yourself at every turn in order to reach that goal that you have for yourself. So remembering that this is not for anyone else, but for yourself, and to make yourself proud. And remembering those things, I feel like can really help as we go on that road and really look at our goals. So now I want to take a step back. So since the title of this presentation is Lose Weight and Feel Free, I'm guessing some of you had a goal related to weight loss. But if you did, I want us to rethink. Can you think beyond the scale? So I want you to push yourself to think beyond the scale. What else would that look like or feel like or be like to reach that goal? What else is going on? And feel free to drop any of this in the chat. I know these are really personal goals, so you don't have to if that feels uncomfortable to you. And as you think about those things beyond the scale, what else is happening? I want you to evaluate if any of those things can happen without you losing weight at all. Can you, whatever those things are, can you have those things without losing weight? Now I want us to take a real step even farther back and think before the scale. What else will need to happen for you to lose weight? What else can you measure? What else are you going to see or feel or do or during that process? Because so often when we have this goal of weight loss, that's all we focus on. And I shared recently on Facebook about how I've changed things up for myself, and I shared some embarrassing for me pictures of myself. And I will admit to you that from that first picture, from the before and after, I did not weigh myself because that number wasn't as important to me as how things looked or felt for me on my body, right? So it makes me think of after my third baby. So one sometimes good side effect of having had thyroid cancer and being on a lot of thyroid hormone is I, for reasons that they don't understand, my thyroid needs would go way up while I was pregnant, like more than they should have. Nobody ever could figure out why. And so I'd be on way more thyroid hormone medication during pregnancy than I would be normally. And they weren't always quite sure how to drop it back down after because they wanted to make sure I was successful at breastfeeding. And so after my third baby, it was the first time one of this doctor had been with me during a pregnancy. And so she left mine kind of high. And within like 3 weeks of having had a baby, I was back at my pre-baby weight. And actually, I'd lost the 10 pounds I'd never gotten off from her sister before her. So it didn't happen every baby, but that baby it did. But I can tell you, I didn't fit in my pre-pregnancy jeans, even though I was at that weight. I didn't feel comfortable in my skin. Like my body wasn't where I wanted it to be. And so thinking about in general, what are these other things that you can think about? Livia put in the chat, I'm tired of not feeling good and having low energy. So those are great things to measure. Like how is my energy? How am I feeling about life? How am I going about things? Besides that number on the scale, can I just feel better in general, have more energy? So thank you for sharing that. So those are some things I want us to rethink about. And again, can those happen without losing weight? Some of them can. Some of them can happen more drastically once you lose weight. But even in that process of being healthier, having a healthier lifestyle, you can reach some of those goals, and it can help us not be so focused on that number. So yes, you can lose weight doing the steps I will talk about here. And like I mentioned, the person a little while ago who was eating, less than 1,000 calories, that's not healthy. So you can lose weight and not be healthy. You can lose weight and be more healthy. Yes, you can not lose weight and still be more healthy at the weight that you're at. As I mentioned before, cycling that weight up and down can be bad for your long-term health. It's changing your body composition over the long term. So we don't want to just keep losing and finding that same 10 pounds all the time, right? Yes, you do need to commit, like we talked about, to your health as a journey and not a destination. And a healthier lifestyle with or without weight loss can lead to decreased risk of disease and longer life. And we'll go into some of those things later, but just want you to think about that it doesn't matter with or without weight loss. These healthier choices can help us. They often will lead to some weight loss, maybe not the amount that we want, but some. And we'll talk about those things as we go along as well. But just these healthier choices, having this healthier lifestyle is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a quick fix here. So which road is the health road? Which road is for your health journey? Well, the road I have seen work for myself and others as a lifestyle change is what I call the fasting with freedom method. And so today, like I mentioned before, we're going to cover just a section of that. So first, we're going to talk about boosting our metabolism. Healthy, sustainable weight loss cannot happen without boosting your metabolism. So going back just a little bit, what is your metabolism? So very basically, metabolism is generally how many calories our bodies need to function. It's how many calories we burn, right? But unfortunately, we don't have like a great tool to figure this out. We can put you in a room and literally measure like the temperature coming off of your body and the oxygen and carbon dioxide, and we can figure out exactly how many calories you burned in that day. But then you're stuck in that room and can't live your normal life. We can't tell you how many calories you're going to burn in your normal life. We can guess. And that's why nobody can just give you this exact prescription of you should eat X number of calories a day. I see this in my clinical job. I estimate how many calories a person needs, and I look at what they're eating, and it seems like it should match that. And they are either gaining or losing weight anyway. I work in the elderly, and they often tend to lose weight, which is not a good thing in their population. And so it's this balance of figuring it out. So that's the science limitation. The individual limitation is your metabolism can change all the time based on what you're eating, how much you're moving, what you're doing, how you're sleeping. So many different factors on an individual level go into it that it can make it really difficult to exactly measure that metabolism. Okay, so just keeping that in mind about your metabolism, but we can boost it. And how do we do that? We can do it through 3 different things: exercise, the timing of our eating, and what we eat. So going back to exercise, how does exercise boost our metabolism? Well, first, as we exercise, we generally would gain more muscle. Muscle burns more calories than fat tissue, right? Fat tissue is just there to store. It doesn't do a whole lot. Muscle is doing a lot throughout the day. So just by having more muscle, you're going to have a higher general metabolism, right? The other way exercise can boost your metabolism is something called EPOC, which personal trainers like to throw out there, this term of EPOC. What is EPOC? EPOC. It is excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. Basically meaning that even after you exercise, you will take in more oxygen. Why are you doing that? Well, you need to recover. You have so many different things you need to cover. You need to repair and rebuild muscle. You will need to generate more blood cells. You'll need to reoxygenate tissues that maybe if it was an anaerobic workout that you weren't able to consume enough oxygen during it, your body needs to like redistribute all that oxygen other places. So you'll have an elevated breathing and heart rate possibly throughout the rest of the day and restore any stored nutrients, especially in muscles that worked hard. They're going to want to store back in. Muscles have their own stores of different nutrients they want to restock after. So besides repairing themselves, they want to restock. So all of that to burn some more calories. Now this usually will last. That is a temporary thing. It's not like, oh, I exercised today and I'm going to have this. The maximum it could go is 24 hours. It depends on the length and intensity and all sorts of different things based on your exercise. And this is generally seen more with HIIT type exercises than just like straight cardio. I am not a personal trainer. So if you want to optimize your physical activity, you should definitely seek out a personal trainer. I am not a personal trainer, so I can give you general exercise guidance, but I cannot give you your particular exercise needs and a plan to meet those needs. So, but exercise is a great way, a great tool in our tool belt to boost our metabolism for both of those things. Getting more muscle to just increase how much is being burned in general all day, and that EPOC of after we're done exercising, our body has to continue to recover and will burn more calories, not just while exercising, but after, right? Timing of eating can change our metabolism. So I'm talking here about if you've heard of intermittent fasting, or sometimes it's called time restricted eating. So a lot of us, when we think of fasting, we think of like not eating for a whole day. And that can be how you do intermittent fasting, but that's why sometimes I like that it's called time restricted eating. So basically you just have set windows of fasting and eating. This can be a lot of different ways. It could be a whole day, could be multiple whole days, it could just be hours in a day. So some common examples are OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, or an 18-6 or 16-8. People will throw out those ratios. The larger number is the fasting hours. The smaller number is the hours window of that they're eating. Some people will do alternate day fasting. So they'll fast one day, eat one day. I've seen some people who say they'll fast for 2 days and eat a day or two. Like it just kind of depends on the person's preferences. How does this boost metabolism? Well, so when we think of eating, we generally are eating a balanced diet that has carbs. when we eat, especially carbs, our insulin goes up, right? That's a good thing. We want insulin to go up. It's how those carbs eventually get into our cells, give us the energy, do all the things that we need them to do. But insulin is what we call an anabolic hormone. It is building up. If our insulin is high, we cannot be breaking down fat tissues and fat stores in our body because our body's wanting to store. So by having these periods of fasting, you put your body out of that anabolic state and into what we call a catabolic state, where it's breaking things down. You have different hormones like adrenaline, right? Exercise, adrenaline. These are hormones that break things down and have us use what is stored. These are good. This is a good thing. Hey, we naturally, most of us do this, but it just depends on how long. Our society has gotten to where we eat later and later in the day, right? And so those hours of fasting have overnight are shorter for many people than they historically used to be. So, wow. And the big takeaway here is we talked about before, when you eat less, your metabolism naturally is going to go down to try to meet that, right? So our bodies, if you think historically over time, humanity has not always had enough food, right? It's only a modern problem of too many calories for most people. So our bodies are programmed that if there's not enough food coming in, I don't know when the next food's coming in, so maybe I should like slow stuff down and hold on to stuff. By doing this time restricted eating, you can actually eat the same number of calories in that window and therefore keep your metabolism up. But because it's in that window, your metabolism is staying up and you're keeping that same window, the same number of calories. So your body isn't adjusting. And like I mentioned, it releases adrenaline and growth hormones. So those are things, all important things. Is that making sense? I hope that's making sense. If it's not making sense, feel free to drop any questions you have about what I'm saying in the chat for me. Okay, and then the third thing we can do to boost our metabolism is based on what we eat, right? So to lose weight, we need our body to burn fat, okay? Anytime you lose weight, you're going to lose water and muscle as well. And generally, it's okay that we lose a bit of muscle, right? Because some of that muscle is holding up the fat tissue. So as we're using all of those things together, it's okay. Like I mentioned before, the problem is then when we tend to gain weight back, we tend to mostly gain back the fat. So it's changing that over the time. But to lose the weight, we need to get our body to burn fat. That's why we're talking about the fasting periods, right? To get that insulin down, to get our body to break down the fat. I just said that part. So insulin is released especially after we eat carbs, and much slower, much less, and later when we eat protein. In general, just like straight fat, if you were to consume just straight oil or something like that, your body is not going to release insulin because insulin's to move carbs in. There's no carbs there. It's not going to release it. So you will sometimes see people who do intermittent fasting, they'll call them fast busters, where they'll like eat like a fat bomb, like just some like straight butter or some oil, or people who like really need their coffee but need something in it, they can put like oil or butter in it, or like straight cream that's not going to have carbs. They're technically not fasting, but they haven't raised that insulin, which is what we wanted to avoid in the first place. So a lot of people who do fasting do a keto diet. I don't particularly think a keto is a very long-term solution, and that's what we're talking about here is long-term solution. So, but we need to keep burning that fat. So I call it my carbs last philosophy. So what do I mean by carbs last philosophy? So by doing carbs last, I mean when you're planning your meal, if it wasn't a meal based on carbs like pasta or something like that, think about carbs last. So maybe you're planning a roast or something for dinner, and you could have vegetables, and you could have a salad, you could have all of these other things, and then plan the carbs last. What healthy carb could I add? Could I add a sweet potato or something like that? Something that's going to be a healthier carb. Not saying you can't have carbs, but plan it last. And also with my carbs last, is eat the carbs last. So the beauty of eating proteins and fat is they keep us fuller longer. Carbs are really easy for our bodies to break down as a general rule. And so, I mean, you think about it, like a Krispy Kreme donut. They're a ridiculous number of calories, right? Like you eat 3 Krispy Kremes and you've eaten over 1,000 calories and you're hungry again in like 20 minutes because it was all this simple sugar that your body just broke down real easy, processed. It's out of your stomach. It's gone, right? Protein and fat, it's going to sit there a little bit longer. Protein, our body has to work a little bit harder to break down. And so they're going to make us feel fuller longer. And so we want to eat those first, get those really filling things in, and then eat our carbs last. So, because carbs are also the thing that's going to be really easy to eat too much of, right? It's really easy to eat 3 rolls at Thanksgiving dinner and all the potatoes and stuffing and all of those delicious things. So by putting those last, we're already feeling full. And so we can eat less of them, still get them, but eat less of them. And I also like to put in the 90% rule, right? It kind of makes me think 90% isn't a B, but it reminds me when you were in college and people said B's got degrees or C's get degrees. So this is a lifestyle we're talking about, and I don't like the phrase of cheating. Oh, today's a cheat day. I get to do whatever I want. It's a 90% rule. 90% of the time, we do what we want. We eat healthy, and about 10% of the time, we have that leeway to have that dessert, to have that special treat, to do whatever it is. And that can look different for every person. Maybe that is you have a treat day. Eating treats on one day a week is about 90% being good, or not being good, but following what you know to be a really healthy lifestyle, and then moving and adding in those things. It can look different for every person, but I like that idea of 90%. Because like I mentioned, we're in progress. We're not perfecting. We're not going to be perfect. We're never going to eat any sweets ever again. We're 90% progressing to what we need, what will be good for us, because it's all about our mental health too. Like I said, no cheating. I don't like that phrase. So meal planning burnout was the other thing I said we were going to talk about. Meal planning can be so overwhelming. There's cookbooks and there's magazines and there's websites and blogs and all these different things. And there's nights where you have time to cook a dinner, and then nights where you're in and out all night and you don't have time. And then there's nights where you thought you were going to have time and you don't have time. And if you had planned for a crock pot, you need to plan that in the morning, and maybe you didn't have time in the morning. There's so many different things. And then you also need to remember to get all the snacks people need or stuff for lunches, and foods costs are going up, and my brain's already hurting. Like, it's so stressful to figure all of this out. If you can agree, throw a 1 in the chat. It can be so stressful trying to plan it and then making sure it's all healthy and balanced and how we want to do it in the end. Oh my goodness, it's so much. So how can we avoid that burnout? Number 1 is intermittent fasting and the carbs last philosophy, right? If you're planning for family members that aren't fasting, hang on, I still got you. But for yourself, if it's easy, less meals equals less planning, right? And so that's one way that this makes it easier, right? Healthy eating just takes a lot of mental energy. Am I really hungry? Or am I just emotional eating? Or am I tired and I think that will wake me up? Or whatever it is. A lot of times we're actually thirsty and we eat because often a lot of people only drink when they eat. And so we kind of confuse the signals. There's so many other signals, speaking of thirsty. Sorry. So if you can just shut off that for a chunk of the day, that leaves up so much mental energy. I don't have to think about if I'm actually really hungry right now because I'm in my fasting window and I know I'll be okay. Right? And And by doing the carbs last, you get, like I mentioned, those proteins and those fats make you feel fuller longer. So you're going to need less snacks to plan for yourself, because you'll be fuller longer in between meals, and you don't have to be thinking about it, right? It makes me think back of with um most of my babies, I actually got, like, not horrible morning sickness, but I got morning sickness during the first trimester. And um with my third baby, I remember I just had this like very sad look on my face, and my husband was like, "What's the matter?" I'm like, "I am just so tired of trying to think of something to eat, because I have to eat so regularly, and I don't want to just be filling my body with junk like throughout the day, but like thinking of what I could eat that would be healthy right now is like more than I can handle." It was just so much mental energy to be thinking all day long about these things. So by having this intermittent fasting, it relieves some of that mental energy and stress. A capsule menu. So I have pictures here of some capsule menus that I use in my life. So if any of you, I got this from the idea of a capsule wardrobe. If you've ever heard of a capsule wardrobe, where you just have like 5 outfits or whatever that you wear regularly, it's very small, but you like everything in your closet type thing. Well, this is a small pre-planned menu. So these are beneficial in so many ways, and you can do it in a lot of different ways. So what I have here is, you can see on the top one, I have lunch and breakfast. I need to update these. I did these a while ago. But for lunch, I just picked things I knew I liked, and then I would know what I needed to buy to have on hand for lunch. That, but I would know, and it was the same 2 weeks that I just did on a rotation, and it was great. At the bottom is the breakfast for my kids, because they're always, "What are you coming in?" Or I'd ask them what they want for breakfast, and then they fight. Just having that set, like, here's Monday we eat this, Tuesday we eat this, Wednesday we eat this. They're not going to get sick of it, because it's the same things we normally ate. And then for snacks, in an effort to try to stop the like in crazy binging of tortilla chips by one of my children in particular, we have tried to put together an afternoon school snack rotation, so that they know what we're eating for snack. You can do this for dinners as well. I've known people who they pick 5 dinners that they know their family likes, and that's what they eat every night. That's a little repetitive for me to eat the same 5 things. I've known other people who they'll pick, like, based on the season or like a quarter of the year, they'll pick a 2-week menu, and they'll repeat that 2 weeks throughout the quarter. So that gives you some more variety. It really decreases your food waste. So instead of, if you needed some special cheese for a recipe, well, now in 2 weeks you're going to make that again. The cheese will probably last, or you could throw it in the freezer and use it up as you go along, instead of now having this random package of brie cheese that you needed for a recipe and don't have a set use for. So it can help you decrease your food waste. It can really simplify your grocery shopping, especially if you're doing, any of these capsules. Like, okay, I know every week I need 2 sweet potatoes for my lunch. I need a salad, a bag salad, and I need this. Like, I can just have those in my cart. I know the things that I need to get. And it eliminates a big chunk of your meal planning. Like, you can sit down and plan those out and then do it. So that's one idea of doing a capsule menu. And again, you can do this in a lot of different ways. So another way you can do it is to have set days, like Taco Tuesday. At our house, we have breakfast for dinner Wednesday. There are people who do pizza Friday. We have leftover night every Tuesday. It's my kids' favorite night of the week, is the leftover night, because they get to pick whatever it was that they liked from the week, best from the week, to eat for dinner. So they feel like they have more choice. Be easy on yourself. This is not a gourmet restaurant. It reminds me of, when I had less kids and I had more time. And so I was like, really planning dinners and like trying all these new recipes and whatever. And then one night I just made spaghetti for dinner. And both my husband and I were like, man, spaghetti's good. Like, we should have spaghetti more often. Like, So lower the pressure on yourself that it all needs to be like crazy extravagant. If you feel like Mexican 3 times in 1 week, it's okay to do that. It's okay if you have a few family favorites and you rotate between them, or there's produce that's on sale right now. And so you're going to have, if broccoli and cauliflower are what's on sale, you're going to rotate between broccoli and cauliflower for a lot of your meals. That's okay. Lower the pressure on yourself of what needs to be done. Pick one source of ideas for recipes each week. This has been a lifesaver for me. I will maybe pull out like a couple different recipe books or pull up a blog or two. But as soon as I find one recipe that sticks out to me for the week, that source is where I'm going for the whole week, rest of the week's meal planning. Number one, it simplifies it the day of like, oh crud, where did I find that recipe? Where was it? I don't know. And it shortens the time because I'm not, oh, well, I could get, no, well, what does this website say? Or what is in this cookbook that I like? I'm in that one cookbook and or on that one website and and it really shortens the time. So it simplifies it on both ends. Ordering groceries online, also a really great tool. I don't know how I lived before I had grocery pickup. It prevents those impulse purchases when you're in the store, and you can add the items throughout the week as if you pull out and realize that this is the end of the peanut butter, I can just pull out my phone, add it to the list, and then that time of like making your meal plan and your grocery list and all of that is shortened for you. So, other ideas. Assign meals to other people. So, we've done variations of this in my house, but I have 4 kids, 3 of who are semi able to talk in coherent ways. My 3-year-old's getting better, but especially during COVID when everybody was home for all the time, I would assign each kid a night to pick what they wanted for dinner. And it mostly stopped because I got really tired of my then 4-year-old picking mac and cheese and peas and nothing else for dinner every week. I was getting a little sick of mac and cheese and peas and nothing else. Or she would pick tortellini to make her sister mad. But making other people pick, it's okay. And then, especially if you have multiple people in your house, there's one meal that they're going to eat. That was part of it. Is I was tired of my kids complaining about the food that I made. It's like, well, here's one night you picked it, and so you're going to like it. Right now, excuse me, I'm trying to teach one of my kids to cook. And so my 9-year-old picks whatever she wants to make for that dinner that she's going to make for the week. Some weeks it doesn't happen because we have too much stuff going on and it isn't going to happen. But when she does, she picks that. Can be really helpful. Even if you're still making it, just having someone else pick it can be such a relief. And prepping ahead whenever possible. I need to get back into this more of, I used to, when I would get home from the grocery store, I would buy carrots and celery and I would just like chop them all up so they were ready to go for lunches, for snacks, whatever it was. And it was so helpful to prep ahead. All of you who are here tonight, I'll be sending you my freezer meal solution. So it has 11 recipes that you can make in 3 hours and have them totally ready in the freezer, excuse me, ready to go. So prepping that ahead is so helpful. Then you only have to think about it that one time. So, does this feel like a little bit much info? Or does it feel realistic? If it feels like kind of a lot, give me a 1 in the chat. If it feels like a little bit scary, give me a 2. A little bit scary. I like that. Even if I can't do all of that at once, just doing some of these things is better than what I'm doing now. 1.5. I like it. 1 and 2. 1.5. Yes. It can seem overwhelming. So do you feel kind of overwhelmed? Right? We all feel overwhelmed. But here's the thing. We already feel overwhelmed with everything we're doing, right? And we talked a lot about ways that we can simplify what's happening, right? We talked a lot about simplifying things and trying to simplify and streamline things for ourselves. In ways we maybe feel, that you can't see my bike trailer very well, but that you're pushing a bike up the steepest hill and it's so hard, right? But in all areas of our life, there's periods of uphill struggle and periods of downhill coasting, right? There's always periods that are going to be hard. But even with that, the view from the top is always better, right? This is me and my husband. We climbed a 14er a couple years ago, and it was so much fun. And the view from the top was totally worth the crazy hard climb to get to the top. And lastly is money. Money, this all can sound like it's a lot of money, right? But as for money, I want us to think of a couple things. First, let's think of nutrition-related diseases can be really expensive. So people with obesity pay almost $2,000 more each year in medical expenses than people of a healthy weight. One person in the United States dies every 34 seconds from heart disease, which is often related to obesity and unhealthy lifestyle choices. Medical costs for heart disease is over $2,000 per year per person. People with diabetes on average spend $16,750 per year on medical expenses. And a third of the most common cancers are preventable with a healthy diet, exercise, and a lean body. And just as an example, 70% of colorectal cancer cases are due to an unhealthy lifestyle. So as expensive as all of those healthy choices can seem, the flip side is even more expensive, right? Oops, wrong arrow. And what is the personal cost? Remember, we talked about this road and the things we want to do. We'll say goodbye to those destinations we wanted to make because we're going the other way on the road, right? We're going backward. You can't stay still. You're going forward or backward. So we covered a lot of information today. Let's just recap just a little bit. So we talked about being committed to our health as a journey and not a destination. It's that road we're going on. And the reason we're going on that road is to get to the destinations we want to go. And those are our why behind what we're doing in our health. We talked about that why and our health goals of what we really want to do, what is really happening, what is maybe that big goal, and what are the littler goals underneath it, right? That things that we can measure that will happen on the way there that can keep us motivated. We talked about boosting our metabolism. We talked about exercise and fasting and the carbs last philosophy. And we talked about how we can ease our mental burnout around meal planning and eating healthy. We talked about a lot of really great things. And we especially talked about how a lifestyle can make your life just more enjoyable and save you money in the long run by not having all of these medical and health expenses and missing out on the things that you want to do on a less physical money, but personal cost attitude. So what's next? We've been talking for about an hour now. It's a Wednesday evening right before Christmas. I know you're all really busy. So really quickly, I just wanted to talk really quickly about the method that I have that I take people through. So we have the 3 phases: the log, the learn, and the live. And in each of these, we're just really building on each other. So we're trying to understand where we're at in the log section. We're going to understand what are our eating patterns, what are we eating, how are we feeling about eating, what are our goals, why are there our goals, really digging in really deep on a personal level on those on that why that we talked about a bit today, and also looking at labs. If you have any question about labs, we can look at those and see if there are any ways we can make improvement. Then we'll really dive deep into that learn and individualize those macros, how to plan meals and track your food intake for yourself. Learning what your labs mean, how you can change them, how you cannot, what cannot be changed, what can happen with that. And really focusing on that mindset for mindful eating, and also managing your mindset on your body image and your exercise, right? And then living. How do we adapt this for real life? So one of the things that I love about intermittent fasting that I mentioned before is, you can have whatever window you want. Maybe you have a certain window you follow that helps you during your weight loss phase, but once you've reached your goal and you just want to maintain, you can ease up on that window probably a little bit and have a less strict window, but still enjoy life. So it's adaptable to what's going on and just how you can thrive throughout your life. And so this is a 12-week program I take people through. You have 7 one-on-one sessions with me. There's email and text support. You get a 1-week meal plan to get you started, and we build from there. So a lot of different things that can happen. And again, we only covered a part of that. So if you are interested at all, here's a QR code, and I will drop a link in the chat. If you're interested at all in having a discovery call with me of what that could look like. I'd be happy to hop on a call with you and talk about that. And I will be sending out the replay. It might take me up to 48 hours to get this like downloaded and processed and everything else. But I will be sending it to you in the email that you registered with by the end of this week. And I'd be happy to share a copy of the slides. I mentioned that at the beginning. So if you could just share a testimonial either in my Facebook group, if you're in that group, or if you're not, just on your personal profile, and what your greatest takeaway was, and shoot me a Facebook message that you did it, and I will give you a copy of the slides. And I just wanted to kind of end with this quote. It's kind of a combination quote from Alex Rodriguez and then expanded on by Carol Dweck in her book Mindset, which is a really fascinating book that I read recently. It says you either go one way or the other. You might as well be the one deciding the direction. And I just really like that quote. So I'm going to end the recording